The drama surrounding arrogance in combat sports has always carried a certain electricity. It's the kind of tension that crackles long before the first punch is thrown. The cameras zoom in at weigh-ins. The fighters step forward. Words are whispered. Lines are crossed. Pride swells. And somewhere beneath the surface, karma waits patiently for its moment. It began with an act that stunned everyone watching. In a heated face-off against Cecilia Breakers, Michaela decided that intimidation wasn't enough. She leaned in and tried to kiss her opponent, turning a professional bout into a spectacle. The crowd gasped. It was bold, disrespectful, and completely unnecessary. Cecilia stood still in that moment, her expression calm, almost unreadable. But beneath that calm exterior was a promise. Revenge doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just nods and waits. Fight night arrived, and the atmosphere inside the arena was thick. The lights dimmed, the announcer's voice echoed, and the bell rang. Michaela strutted forward with the same swagger she'd shown days earlier. But confidence without caution is a dangerous cocktail. Cecilia didn't rush. She didn't overextend. She measured her opponent, and when the opening appeared, she detonated. A clean shot landed flush. Michaela stumbled backward as if the ground had betrayed her. The crowd erupted. The kiss that was meant to humiliate had turned into a catalyst. Cecilia didn't just win. She delivered a brutal reminder that respect in this sport isn't optional. If that lesson wasn't loud enough, January 28, 2024 delivered another. At BKFC 19, Jenny Savage brought her reputation into the spotlight. She had built a name not just on fighting, but on taunting. At face-offs, she pushed boundaries, chasing clout with every sneer and gesture. Standing across from her was Hart, a fighter whose smile masked a ferocious competitive edge. Jenny talked. Britain listened. When they stepped into the ring, the dynamic shifted instantly. Hart's eyes were locked in. Savage tried to dictate tempo, hands high, bouncing lightly, throwing feints and flashes of aggression. Early on, it looked competitive. Savage even found moments of success, touching Hart with sharp shots and moving with confidence. But fights aren't won on attitude, they're won on execution. As the rounds progressed, Hart began to close the distance. Her punches came heavier, more deliberate. A right hand snapped Savage's head back. The crowd sensed the tide turning. Savage's bravado started to fade as she absorbed shot after shot. By round 3, the ring felt smaller for her. Hart unleashed a barrage, uppercuts, hooks, relentless combinations that battered both body and face. Savage's guard tightened, but she wasn't firing back. The referee edged closer, studying her reactions. The punishment was mounting. What had begun as a showcase of swagger turned into a survival test. Hart didn't just win that exchange. She dismantled the myth that volume of trash talk equals toughness. In that ring, bark met bite, and bite won. Disrespect escalated again in a heavyweight clash when Tuppa decided that words weren't enough. At the face-off, she leaned in close to Garcia, whispering venom with eyes locked in a glare meant to intimidate. The tension was suffocating. Garcia didn't respond with theatrics. He simply stared back, absorbing every syllable. The bell rang, and Tuppa exploded early. A thunderous left hook crashed into Garcia's jaw, sending him into the kind of stagger that makes arenas collectively inhale. He wobbled, legs betraying him, barely staying upright. Tuppa, sensing blood, gestured him forward. It was a mistake born of overconfidence. Garcia recovered with terrifying clarity. His counters began to land, each one snapping Tuppa's head violently. The momentum swung like a pendulum. And then it happened. A spinning fist, thrown with perfect timing, smashed into Tuppa and sent her collapsing uncontrollably to the canvas. The same fighter who had whispered threats now lay disoriented under the lights. Garcia poured it on, unleashing punishment that erased any memory of the early wobble. The humiliation was complete. Arrogance had overplayed its hand. April 5, 2025, in Dubai, the stakes rose again. The vacant BKFC featherweight title was on the line. Hannah Rankin arrived with confidence spilling over into provocation. During the face-offs, she couldn't keep her hands to herself, brushing and crowding her opponent, Jessica Borger. It was a warning sign disguised as bravado. From the opening bell, Rankin charged forward, pressing aggressively. She sought to overwhelm, to impose her will immediately. But aggression without calculation leaves gaps. Borger waited. She stepped slightly offline and uncorked a right hand so clean and precise it seemed to freeze time. Rankin's head snapped violently, spinning almost unnaturally before her body collapsed. Silence fell before the roar. Rankin lay motionless, the oxygen mask eventually becoming part of the scene. In a matter of seconds, overconfidence had turned into vulnerability. The belt would belong to the fighter who let her fists speak. Sometimes the disrespect cuts deeper than gestures. On November 29, 2024, Dakota stepped into a different kind of fire. Her opponent, a seasoned veteran and former UFC title challenger in Taila Santos, had belittled her publicly, calling her a Barbie, implying she was more model than fighter. It was condescension disguised as analysis. At the face-off, Santos carried the aura of experience. She had walked the biggest stages. She believed that history would intimidate youth. But once the cage door shut, resumes meant nothing. Dakota came out sharp, composed, and precise. Her strikes landed with authority, forcing Santos backward. When Santos attempted to lean on wrestling, searching for a body lock to neutralize the damage, Dakota resisted with balance and grit. As the first round wound down, Dakota's offense intensified. A slicing elbow opened the floodgates. Santos was hurt. Combinations rained down. Head, body, head again. The referee hovered, watching as the veteran crumbled under sustained pressure. When it was finally waved off, the message echoed louder than any pre-fight insult. Labels don't fight. Skill does. And that night, the so-called Barbie shattered expectations and silenced doubt. Tensions boiled over at BYB Extreme 23 when Adriana Vukovic and Jamie Driver met face-to-face. A shove at the weigh-in ignited the fuse. Driver took that moment personally. On fight night inside the triangular ring, she wasted no time. The bell sounded, and Driver stormed forward with double jabs and a crushing right hand. Vukovic looked unprepared for the storm. Shots landed clean. Dirty boxing in tight quarters amplified the damage. In just 38 seconds, it was over. What began as a petty shove became fuel for a blitzkrieg. Sometimes disrespect doesn't lead to a drawn-out lesson, it leads to a sprint toward consequences. Even back in March 2021 at Fame 9, the pattern held. Polish star Kamila clashed with a provocateur who thrived on antics and taunts. At weigh-ins, there were theatrics. On fight night, there was discipline. Kamila's overhand rights thundered from the opening seconds, forcing her opponent onto the defensive. In the second round, the fight transitioned to the ground. An armbar attempt forced a desperate scramble. Escape only delayed the inevitable. Kamila advanced position, locked in a rear naked choke, and ended the spectacle with technique rather than theatrics. It was clinical, suffocating, and final. Across all these moments, a pattern emerges. Combat sports have no patience for unchecked ego. Swagger can sell tickets. Trash talk can build hype. But once the bell rings, physics takes over. Timing, precision, conditioning, and composure decide outcomes. The fighters who mistake noise for dominance often find themselves staring up at arena lights, confronted not by their opponent's words, but by their opponent's execution. Karma in fighting isn't mystical. It's mechanical. Overcommit on a punch, and you'll be countered. Drop your hands to taunt, and you'll be clipped. Underestimate your opponent, and you'll be outworked. The ring is an unforgiving truth teller. It strips away narratives and leaves only performance. And that's why these moments resonate so deeply. Fans don't just watch for knockouts. They watch for the unraveling of arrogance. They watch for that instant when confidence morphs into shock. They watch for humility delivered at full speed. So what do you think? Is trash talk a necessary part of the fight game, or does it inevitably invite disaster? Which of these moments was the most satisfying to watch? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy these dramatic breakdowns of Fight Night Justice, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story where karma steps into the ring.